What about Waverley? In recent years, the most asked question in football. This week, the Victorian Football League unveiled VFL Park at Waverley, a multi-million-dollar development which will be the home of Australian football in Melbourne. VFL Park is a ground designed to present football under the best conditions to ultimately the biggest crowds in the greatest comfort. And the completion of that ambition is still to be fulfilled. But an important milestone will be reached next Saturday when Geelong and Fitzroy play the first match on the Waverley ground. This week, Eric McCutchan, Administrative Director of the VFL, talked about the start of VFL Park 8 years ago.
As you say, it was 8 years ago that we first bought the land. It would be about a year prior to that the league decided that steps should be taken to find a home for league football. That is a ground at which the VFL could call its own. It was in April '62 that we secured options on 200 acres of land. We exercised them later in the year in September. Then, of course, the planning started. Our architects, Meldrum and Partners, sent Rhett, one of the partners overseas. He looked at various stadiums throughout the world. As you know, I had the pleasure of doing likewise, to think of some of the features inside. And then, of course, the architects sat down to do the drawings. January '66, that the sod was turned. Sir Dallas Brooks, you'll recall, bounced the ball. Then, of course, the arena was the next step, as we've indicated, was sown in March '67, and progressively the plan has developed. The first step, of course, was to put the concrete terraces in, which at that time were fitted with seat brackets in readiness, and now you see the 27,000 seats now being fitted. All in all, it's been a progressive plan. We have a committee of one delegate from each club who make the big decisions. A lot of the detail, of course, must be left to the administrative side. But each of the 12 clubs have a say in what's to happen out here, and they have planned it this way.
Eric, the size of the property of VFL Park, what is the size of the VFL
Well, it was
property?
200 acres initially. We've added another 12 acres to that by a subsequent purchase. The reason for this being to give us an area of land directly opposite Gerald's Road, which will be one of the approaches from the north, to give us a run straight in. And now this is one of the areas in which we have one of our 4 car width gateways and into the parking areas. This gives a good entrance and a good getaway down Wellington Road later. We believe it just added that little bit which made the area so much more impressive.
What capacity is there for parking?
Some 8 to 8,500 cars on the 40 acres of metalled areas. These areas, incidentally, will be signed indicating where members are to come in, and also signed for people leaving, indicating this is the road to take if you're going to the city, if you're going to Caulfield, you're going to Glen Waverley, Ferntree Gully, etc. It'll be signs like you see on country roads, and will be most comprehensive, but I think will help considerably in getting the crowd away.
Eric, when the ball is bounced here next Saturday for the first match on VFL Park at Waverley, the first match, of course, is between Geelong and Fitzroy. What will be the VFL's investment in the future of football here at Waverley?
Well, firstly, I'd say the land, we believe, was bought at a very reasonable figure, and it has appreciated, I would say, at least 8 times since then. This is judging by purchases made around the district recently. But with the arena, the terracing, the stand, not including the 7 bays which are now being built, seating, the facilities inside, or round figure of $2.5 million.
Eric, $2.5 million. You don't come by $2.5 million easily. There must have been considerable confidence shown by some members of our financial community.
Yes, well, of course, we haven't spent that all in one go, as you'd appreciate. Going back to '62 when we bought the land, the League Finance Committee then approved ideas for part of the admission monies to be paid into a fund for Waverley. There was a levy on membership tickets and proceeds of our publications. Certain section of television broadcasting fees likewise paid to VFL Park account. That has enabled us to have assured some $200,000 per year for servicing our borrowing. Well, now on that, of course, we were able to set the scheme going, But now, of course, the main consideration in financing is the subscriptions from 17,000 members, which of course has indicated to us wonderful public support for the project. This means that their subscriptions are readily available for VFL Park improvements as we go on.
This is probably the most confident vote of support from the football public.
I think so, yes. Even acknowledging that quite a considerable percentage of the members are situated locally. There is support from places as far away as Ballarat, Geelong and other places. But apart from that support, I'm sure that there will be a lot of people here locally who will come back to football rather than drop out as they possibly have because they live in inner suburbs and now live out here. But to me, the clear indication of support of the project has come from the 17,000 members. Their finances are indeed valuable.
Centrepiece at Waverley is the magnificent playing arena, the playing surface below the level of the lowest public vantage point. The largest playing surface of any VFL ground, as explained by Eric McCutchan.
Well, it is the largest, Ron, on which league football will be played. It's 220 yards long by 190 wide. That is it from fence to fence, of course, with the goalpost being in 30 feet and the boundary line 30 feet from the fence. We have an actual playing area of 200 by 170.
Was this considered by the VFL to be the ideal playing size?
Well, the ANFC have laid down certain minimums and maximums, but I think that mainly we wanted to ensure that there was plenty of room between boundary line and fence, and it fitted in perfectly with 200 by 170.
There's grass from goal to goal, from wing to wing.
Yes, it's beautiful grass, isn't it? It's been sown now for just over 3 years, March 67, consolidated beautifully, and we're extremely proud of this. Fortunately, we were able to keep the arena going during the drought period by our own dam and watering through the electronic system. So now, with all the care that's been given it, by April 18 it will indeed be a magnificent surface, well, as it is now.
The centremen won't know they're alive, will they?
No, I've always said, you know, that the skilled centreman will get a lot of kicks out here, and likewise the winger, with all the space, he naturally will have to display a lot of skill to beat his opponent, and I think this is a ground on which the good centre lines will prevail.
Eric, just give us those statistics again, goal line to goal line and boundary to boundary across the wing.
Well, from goal line to goal line, 200 yards, and from boundary line to boundary line, 170.
So much for the joys of the 36 men on the ground. What about the crowd outside?
Well,
seating for how many?
There'll be seating for some 27,000 people. It's not our province to say just how many people the ground itself will hold. This is a matter for the health department. But as you see, in addition to the seating facilities, there will be ample terraces on which standing room is available. We will progressively develop the seating so that all the terraces which will be standing this year will become seating later on. Even at this stage, we have around the outer some 7 rows of seats, and of course there are plenty of seats in the public reserve.
Have you any idea what have you thought about how many people you might be drawing here next Saturday?
Well, this is quite a problem. Naturally, we thought that Fitzroy and Geelong originally would be a game which would enable us to open the ground quite comfortably with not too big a crowd, but the success of these two teams has now made it quite clear to me that this could well be one of the matches of the day.
One of the spectacular features here at VFL Park, of course, will be the electronic scoreboard.
Yes, well, we're very happy to be associated with HSV7 in this project. They have sponsored the board. It will be the only board of its kind for football in this state. Will be electronic. The scores of the match in progress will be posted electronically. Likewise, the progress scores from other games. We'll have novel features like a running timer, time of the day, and instead of the usual clocks we see on other grounds, the time which has elapsed in the quarter will be shown electronically, with an indication being given when the 25 minutes has elapsed, so people will know we're into the time on period.
Eric, all of these things, of course, the football fan will see for himself when he comes here either next Saturday or one of the following Saturdays through the football season. But behind the scenes, the facilities for the players and the activity underneath the grandstand, is there anything different there?
Well, only that I think they're most spacious. The dressing rooms would be the largest of all at all our grounds, associated with the dressing room, which are carpeted incidentally. There will be nets in which the players can kick before they come out and have their kick on the ground. There will be the property room, the doctor's room, the coach's room. The coach will have an area in which he can take his players to sit down before the game with a blackboard to tell the story of how it's to be done. An area in which the people who like to look at the team before they go out can be situated. And of course they come out onto the arena by underground races without any possible obstruction from the public.
Eric, if there is one area where criticism of the planning at Waverley has been perhaps stronger than any other area, and there have been quite a few critics over the years, as you know, is in the question of access to the ground and the possibility of delays in getting away from the ground. What is the exact situation at this moment? Well, are you quite happy with the situation?
I am extremely happy. We've had wonderful cooperation from all the parties concerned. Firstly on critics, yes, there have been critics over the years, but I think now they have seen just what is being done out here and they're inclined to praise us rather than criticise us. But the Country Roads Board, City of Waverley, Transport Regulation Board have been ever ready to come to conference with us on the question of transport facilities. The TRB have approved shuttle services, that is bus services from Clayton, Nunawading and Glen Waverley stations, and also Dandenong. And there are 10 other bus lines which will have their services or routes extended so that they can run to the ground on match days. Well, now Wellington Road itself has been widened to become a 5-lane highway, and this will provide access to our parking areas through 6 different gateways, each of these gateways being of 4-car width. And well, with other roads such as Wellington Road running out to Stud Road, out to Dandenong and the towns in the foothills, Police Road taking people down to Springvale. In fact, Police Road can be a means of getting to Dandenong as well. Gerald's Road to the north. Generally, I think the pattern has been developed over the last few months which will provide, I believe, very, very good access and getaway after the games. As you know, in the parking areas themselves, we're able to accommodate some 8,500 cars in 40 acres of metalled parking areas.
Well, Eric, it's less than a week to the bounce of the ball for the first game here at Waverley. And of course, that means fans cheering, cars parking, turnstiles clicking.
Yes, I like the turnstiles clicking.
What happens from here? What's the future of VFL Park at Waverley?
Well, as you can well imagine, this is a completely new venture for the league. I would say that we will not be doing anything more to change the situation during the currency of the season, apart from the 7 bays which are now being added. What we've done, of course, is in accordance with a master plan, and it is quite easy to add as we decide that this should be done. I think at the end of the year, after having played for 1 year, we then make a decision whether we increase the facilities for members in this area of the ground. If we do, it means that if you go right to the extent of the master plan, you go from level C, at which we are positioned at the moment, up to level F. The roof on the stand will come off and be used in another section of the ground. But we either do this in the members' stand or we decide to continue this type of structure completely around the ground, which will provide more accommodation for general public and we believe still leave adequate facilities here for the members.
The total master plan provides for an attendance or a crowd of how many people?
166,000 is the ultimate, with some 128,000 seated. This, of course, must be regarded as a long-range project. I think the whole concept of Waverley is for the future, but I'm extremely happy at the way we've been able to bring it up to this stage so quickly since 1962. And I've got no doubt that with the success that will be attended to our game in 1970 out here, we'll be ready at the end of the year to think in terms of further extensions.
Eric, I can't leave you and Waverley without asking you the question that all of the football fans at this moment watching this week will be asking, how long before finals are played here?
Well, that is a good question.
I know it requires a diplomatic answer too.
Well, I'll be perfectly frank with you. Quite honestly, we've not discussed it. Our agreement with the Melbourne Cricket Ground trustees and the trustees has till the end of 1971 to run. That gives us 2 seasons of play here at Waverley. And I'm quite sure that the clubs of the league would not want to play finals here until we're ready for finals. We've got all that time to consider just what the program will be. But quite obviously that as Waverley is developed, so will we want to put additional features here, be it the finals or other features. Well, the future will tell us.
What will the future tell on Waverley? Is it before its time? Or will Waverley become the true headquarters of football, with finals being presented by the VFL on its own ground? Next Saturday, players will strip, cars will park, and most importantly, turnstiles will begin to click. And the question, what about Waverley, will begin to be answered.